This is the KBK World Service.
Former President Trump may be off the hook for impeachment after his acquittal in the U.S. Senate, but even some Republicans are signaling he potentially could face significant legal trouble as a private citizen, especially in the state of Georgia. And it all stems from the phone call that he had with Georgia's Republican Secretary of State.
All I want to do is this. I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have, because we won the state.
For more on that, we're joined by the Republican Lieutenant Governor of Georgia, Geoff Duncan. Lieutenant Governor, thank you so much for joining us. As you know a lot better than I do, Trump is facing potentially two separate investigations in Georgia, one by the Secretary of State and another criminal investigation. Even the Senate Minority Leader, Mitch McConnell, says former presidents are, in his words, not immune from the criminal justice system. So what role do you want to see Georgia play in holding the former president accountable?
Well, we received word last week in our office that the district attorney in Fulton County was wanted us to preserve all the documents around the election process. Specifically, I think they spoke of the hearings, the state Senate hearings. So look, I'm not an attorney and certainly can't speak to the legalities of the president's conversation with the Secretary of State and others, but I can speak to, I think it was inappropriate. And at the time, I've said this 1,000 times, it was inappropriate, and it obviously helped us lose two very important elections here in Georgia, or led to.
You think that because of the then president's interference, those two Senate races went to the Democrats?
Well, I think it was part of the narrative. I spent 10 weeks, the better part of 10 weeks, with others trying to talk about that we needed to focus on the issues here in Georgia and move away from the conspiracy theories and all the misinformation that continued to spread. But Wolf, this is a pivot point for us here in Georgia and here as a party nationally. This is a true pivot point for us to move past impeachment, past all of this other stuff, and try to rebuild a party here in the GOP 2.0.
Even as you try to do that, though, and you correctly point out, the Fulton County District Attorney says her investigation will go beyond that one phone call, and she's open to even considering conspiracy or racketeering charges. How likely is it that Trump will actually face those kinds of charges?
Well, I have no way to speak into those charges. We're certainly going to let the authorities do their job, and we're going to certainly work with them when we need to, for sure. But look, once again, this is not helping the GOP to have these conversations. Look, we're already campaigning for 2024 as a party. And we've got a lot of big steps to take. We've got a lot of tough decisions to make. And quite honestly, there's a huge vacuum of leadership within the GOP right now, all around the country. And it's time for us to step up and start talking about real issues that real Americans care about.
Do you think Trump is still the leader of the GOP?
I don't believe so. I think we watched how that played out here in Georgia. We lost two Senate elections with him trying to take the lead. Look, I appreciate 4 years of conservative leadership, but it's time to move on. It's time to turn the page. It's time to start talking about the policies that got us here. It's time to start growing the party through empathy, and it's time to start communicating with a better tone.
You've been calling on the GOP to move on from the Trump era, but after his acquittal, the former president put out a statement saying his movement, in his words, has only just begun. What impact could an emboldened Trump have on the future of the Republican Party?
Well, I hope it doesn't. I hope, look, this party's bigger than one person. I hope he sees the future opportunities ahead of us for a country and doesn't try to create headwinds for a party that's truly just trying to do our job and lead with conservative strategies and put Americans first with good, strong fiscal policy, a strong military, strong, safe communities, jobs, high-paying, quality jobs. I hope that's the foremost in his to-do list over the next 4 years, and certainly we as a party need to make sure that's our important to-do list.
A related question, to your credit, you forcefully defended the integrity of the 2020 presidential election, the vote counting in Georgia. So why are you and some other Georgia Republicans now pushing voting restrictions that would actually make it harder for people to vote in Georgia?
Well, certainly there is an overtone of a knee-jerk reaction. The number of bills that have been introduced are much higher than normal. I think this is a bipartisan effort looking forward. I think both Democrats and Republicans have introduced election reform ideas that are common sense ideas that aren't trying to make a point, but truly trying to make a difference. Things like, making sure that the counties release at the time that they close the election the total number of outstanding votes. That would have made a difference on election night. Looking for opportunities to allow counties to start processing those absentee ballots well before the election's over so that we don't have to wait days. There's some common sense decisions. I'm going to personally work with the Democrats and the Republicans to try to get some big ideas across the finish line.
But will these new ideas that some Republicans are now putting forward actually make it more difficult, let's say, for minority voters in Georgia to actually cast their ballot?
I certainly would never support anything that makes it more difficult to vote. Certainly, it make it harder to cheat, but not more difficult to vote. Quite honestly, a win for us here in Georgia is to see a record number of folks voted in the last election, 5 million, to see an even more, a higher number of folks vote in the next series of elections.
All right, well, let's see what happens on that front. These are critically important issues. You guys got a lot going on right now in Georgia. Lieutenant Governor Geoff Duncan, thanks so much for joining us.
Don't make me laugh.